Welcome to Season 2 of the Story Detective. Where have I been, you may be asking? Well, it's been a minute. It's been a few minutes, let's face it. Why the long hiatus for several months? I'm going to get into that. We're also going to get into a couple of other things. I have 5 tips on self-publishing, and we're also going to do a little time traveling. Sound impossible? Well, stick around because the worst is yet to come. So where have I been? Well, we have to go back and revisit the last video that I made, which was the NaNoWriMo video. And what happened after that became an impossible series of events. An unfortunate series of events indeed. First and foremost, I was writing. And you can't finish a NaNoWriMo project and work on a bunch of vlogs, holiday stuff coming up, the job. I mean, it was becoming overwhelming. And during that time, there was this stomach virus from hell that was going around work that kept everybody like immobilized for about a week, which I got, and it had the same effect on me. I was flat for the better part of a week. Right after that, I experienced a knee injury. So I had emergency rooms, doctor visits, all kinds of fun stuff. With all that happening, I said, I'm going to take advantage of all this downtime because there's nothing else I can do but write. That's the main goal anyway, so let's dive into the writing and see what I can do. I did have several videos that I stockpiled because I was filming a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I do have all those videos, and they're going to have fall decor once I get around to showing them. And we're going to get a little bit into that today because part of what I said when I was filming my NaNoWriMo update, which would have been my next video, is not bad stuff. It's incomplete, but I think it's good to look back on that. That's where the time traveling comes in. And then I'm going to add to the details that are missing as opposed to where I was then and where I am now. Let's roll the video and hold on to your loved ones and your pets because that time traveling thing can get a little disorienting. Welcome everybody. This is episode 1 of Write Talk. As I record this, it's November 10th, 2018. Let's begin with my NaNoWriMo goal. And that, like everybody else, is to finish my current manuscript by the end of November. Now, I don't really want to win any NaNoWriMo prizes. I did this for me. And what I did is I started in Preptober. I gave myself a bit of a head start. I planned everything out in a rough outline, and then I started writing a few chapters because I figured nobody starts running a marathon cold. I wanted to be prepared that when I was writing, I was moving forward by the time we got to NaNoWriMo. So where am I at today on the 10th of November? I'm just a little beyond 15,000 words. After this particular novel in the NaNoWriMo month, I have one more to finish in my series, and I'd like to get that finished by the end of the year. That's the larger long-term goal, is to get my series done by the end of the year in draft. So I finished my NaNoWriMo project around mid-December. That was about 6 weeks after I started. And how I did that is, if you go back and watch the NaNoWriMo video, the tips that I gave for getting ahead, I used those exact tips in the video for myself. I feel if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. And these were things that I've experimented with in the past, and I had some success. And diving into this particular NaNoWriMo project, I wanted to kind of pull out all the stops and see how it would work. Everything, no plan is foolproof, and it's not going to work the same for everybody. But for me, I'd say everything works pretty well. The only thing that didn't work out as well as planned was the lapel mic. The problem I had with the lapel mic is if I have it pinned to my shirt and my phone is in my pocket, as soon as I would pause to think about something for even a few seconds, it would shut off. And sometimes I didn't know it shut off. And I was dictating, and then I realized I was going on for a while, and what I was saying I lost. The lapel mic is something I think you could use if you have your phone out somewhere where you can see it, and you can see if it shuts off. But if you're putting your phone in your pocket. You're better off just bringing it out and dictating for a few minutes when you have a few minutes to spare. When I first decided to self-publish, I did a lot of research, and self-publishing is an ever-changing platform. I looked at the odds, and the odds were, out of those first few years, like over 2 million people published on Amazon. Out of that 2 million people, a dozen or so were really successful. And then a little more research, a little more digging, revealed that there was, at the time, about 100 or so writers who were actually making money. Those 100 or so writers had a process, and that process was churn out 4 to 6 novels in a year, which is astronomical. I mean, in the publishing world, it's unheard of, but they were working like 12 to 15 hours a day. These were people that could write full time. They didn't have to work day job. I did. And when I came at some of them and asked questions, they said, "Oh, you're working a day job. Well, this isn't going to work for you. Sorry." And I thought, great. You have to have enough money to support yourself, write full time, and then write day and night to try to keep getting those novels out. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to try to rank on anybody, because these people were fortunate to be able to write full time. And that would be all of our dreams, let's face it. It's just that most of us don't have enough time to spend 10 to 15 hours writing every single day and crank out novels that are going to come out like, every 2 to 3 months. But that is the model. They literally came out with a new novel every 2 to 3 months, constantly being in the public eye and coming out with something new. That's how they publicized themselves, and that's how they figured that was the best promotion for them. The best marketing was to keep delivering. I, of course, couldn't do that. So I looked at my own career, and that was in comic books. Comic books is a publishing field, which is very similar to publishing traditional books. So I had to look at what I knew. And we always come from a place from writing what we know, and also business is based on what we know. And I came up with a plan. Step 1 of that plan is to do what publishers do who aren't self-publishing, and that's to work ahead. When I was doing comic books, we worked ideally 3 issues ahead. So we had basically 3 issues in the can, and ultimately, if we wanted to say we were in really good shape, we would farm out a 4th issue to a guest artist. It would be maybe a one-shot story, and that could be used as a fill-in issue in case things went wrong and deadlines got screwed up, because they do. Life just happens. You have to plan ahead for these things. And the guys who were self-publishing had nothing ahead. Their career, their lives, everything was dependent on getting that next one out. I don't think that is feasible for long term, at least not for everybody. I know it wasn't feasible for me. In terms of building an arc, it's pretty much what a traditional publisher would do if you were working on a series for them. If you got assigned, say, 4 novels, you would finish the first one, get it in draft, and then while you're working on the second novel, the first one would go through an editorial process. So you would keep doing that until you worked ahead enough to put the first one out. And you've probably heard people talk that they don't want another series, or they don't want an incomplete story, that they have to buy more books to complete that story. But believe me, if your story is good and it's well plotted, they'll forgive you, because people wait years to see a sequel in a movie, and TV shows go from week to week. And I think if you're going to self-publish, you have to think in terms of arcs. Your first year, if you get 4 novels and you release 1 each quarter, that's a year's worth of work. Think of your first arc as the first season of a TV show. Keep it relatively complete, even if there's more to come, self-contained, so that by the time you get to the end of your year, the end of your first season, you can release it in a collection. That's sort of like your DVD set. And if people don't want to read it in parts as it comes out every few months, they can read it all together at the end of the year. So it's a win-win for everybody, and mainly it's a win for the writer who doesn't have time to write 15 hours a day. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse of our season's glory. 3 to 5 inches predicted for tonight. So without further ado, let's return once more to the past. So that brings us to step 2 of the plan. And that's where I developed writing on the run. And you can look at my other series of videos and get some hints on what I've done to keep writing while I'm working, while I'm on the go. So I'm not sitting at my table, I have other responsibilities. And work doesn't allow most of us to write as much as we would like. It's constantly shifting. We have irregular schedules all the time. And I needed to find a way to take that back. Part 3 of the plan. And this wasn't so much my part of the plan. This was a gift that was given to all of us by the self-publishing industry. And that was that novels can be much shorter. They used to have to be like 75 to 80,000 words per novel. And now we can write something that's like 35,000 to 50,000 words, and it's acceptable. And it's also recommended that we write a series. So 50,000 words is the perfect length if you're writing a series and can get something out more quickly. What I decided to do is to write a 4-part series. And with 50,000 words, I figured I could get that in draft fairly quickly. I'm on book 3 now, so it is happening. It is moving along. And most of that I wrote when I was out and about. I would bring my phone with me. I would bring my portable keyboard with me. I was constantly finding moments throughout my day to write. It's a commitment. I also tried to keep my plan as broad as possible because I knew there were going to be days when I didn't get a lot done, or with the holidays coming up that I wouldn't be able to write at all. I didn't hold myself as doggedly to the plan as some people may have. And 6 weeks, I mean, that's past the 30-day NaNoWriMo, but was I complaining to finish over 50,000 words in 6 weeks? No, I was quite pleased with the result. That's 2 novels in 3 months, or getting your arc done in 6 months. Think of it. Would you like to get your arc done in 6 months or 8 months? Where do you want to be a year from now? If you take my example and adapt it to your own needs, your own schedule, I'm sure you can figure out a way to make it work for you, as well as, if not better than I made it work for myself. If you have any ideas on how to improve the plan to make it work better for me or yourself and you'd like to share, comment down below, because we're all one another's success stories. And for now, we're running a little bit long on this video, so we're going to conclude the rest of the points next time. We'll talk again.